Sorry for the trouble. Think I better.
Hola, buenas tardes a todos. Estoy Karen Kun, estoy la presidente de un ONG canadiense, Waterlution. Hoy día estoy aquí en Canadá, no con vosotros en Buenos Aires. Y detrás de mí es el lago Ontario, uno de los cinco grandes lagos compartido entre Canadá y los Estados Unidos. Y hoy día voy a presentar con la innovación del agua y nuestro programa del Water Innovation Lab. Disculpe, es muchos años desde hablo español. Durante muchos años yo he vivido en Colombia, en Costa Rica, en Bolivia, con mi trabajo en las áreas rurales, con el agua. Y cuando estaba una niña, yo he vivido con mi familia en Buenos Aires durante 2 meses. Espero que un día pueda regresar para visitar una otra vez. Pero hoy día pienso que es mejor que yo hablo en inglés. So what I would like to share with you today in this presentation is I'm going to be talking to you for the first half on our experience with Waterlution and our Water Innovation Lab programs. And then I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Christopher, and he's going to talk about what we've been doing around arts-based learning at the community level, which we believe is a really powerful tool for community engagement and a pathway to water innovation. So to start off, Waterlution has been around for 17 years, and for over half of those, so in 2010, we ran our first Water Innovation Lab. And it was really exciting to see young people playing a role in solving water challenges. So at the beginning, we were in Canada, and since then, so 10 years later, we are now wrapping up our 16th Water Innovation Lab. We have run these on 5 continents. There's about 3,000 young people, mostly young professionals and youth, that have participated in skill building and water innovation training and project development. And of course, I'm sure as you can imagine, over 10 years, the program has iterated and grown and adapted in many different ways. So with these Water Innovation Labs, we run them in Canada. We've run them in several locations in Europe, in the Middle East, in Lebanon, in India, in Australia, and the closest to Argentina is in Brazil. We actually have quite a substantial team, and we are 4 years of running Water Innovation Labs in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, looking at an urban setting, and then last year in Recife, in the Northeast, which was a very different context. And one of the things that is really important is about establishing themes that are very current and that people can connect on. It's no secret that water innovation is a very large space. And what we believe is a really important ingredient, there's many important ingredients, but one of them is multidisciplinary teams working together. In the surveys that we do after Water Innovation Labs, one of the strongest features that comes up is the unbelievable learning that has happened between more technical team members working with more social scientists, artists, people looking at things from a policy perspective, bringing those different perspectives into a team where everybody is looking at the same problem, but from a different angle, and then being given the tools, the mentorship, the training to look at how do you look at this from a systems perspective? How do you look at this so you're not just solving a problem and very likely creating a new problem, but how are you looking at this over a longer period of time? And so we have found that teams are really blown away, and technical people come away being like, I had no idea the social dimensions of my work. And we've had, and I'm just being very broad here, and social scientists coming away saying, by understanding the science the technical, some of the data more deeply, it offers so much more depth to the work that they're doing. And so cross-disciplinary teams are just such a powerful tool. I think that is really, really important in the Water Innovation Lab space. So it's no secret that the world has changed because of COVID, and we have changed with it. The way that we traditionally ran Water Innovation Labs was there's an application process. We really want the participants to be there and it be the right time in their, they really need to be there. It's an intensive process, and so it's been a week-long intensive training. And a really interesting and something that is very valuable is that we do quite extensive field tours connected to the themes. It's really important for young people to be able to see things, touch things, ask questions to experts in the field as they're trying to formulate all these different aspects of the water challenges that they're looking to innovate around. And so the field tours have been, we do more and more of those. And so we used to do this intensive week where everything happened in that week. And COVID oddly provided this strange but now wonderful benefit, which is we've elongated the program and of course been delivering virtually online, but it's given teams more time to form and to really dissect by working with different, what we call resource guests. Those are your experts. We have a whole training process of how do you really look at the problem that you're looking to solve, and really understanding that so that you're not starting because you've got some great idea, but that you're really peeling things back to really make sure that you're starting from a very needed angle. And so by having this elongated process, our new strategy is actually to keep this process going even as we hopefully leave the COVID world. Who knows when that will be someday. And so we now have a two-part process. One is where we get a lot of young people involved, and we offer more general skill training, and from there those participants can come and get a much more intensive experience. And this is really about building water entrepreneurs, really building out legacy projects through arts-based and community-based programming that is going to have a lasting impact at the community level. And some of the projects that have come out, people always want to know, I'm sure you want to know as well. There's been so many. There's been about 100 water innovation ideas. Of course, some of them are way more powerful than others. And so there's been a few with different sensors and looking at different sensors and connecting them into apps to obviously look at, get water data. There's been quite a lot in the wastewater world looking at payment structures and how to innovate around different payment methods, looking at different wastewater technologies. In Lebanon, there was one team, they are still working on it right now, about how to extract metals from olive oil production, a very big problem in the area. Another thing I'd like to talk to you about is global collaboration. And collaboration is a really big word for us at Waterlution. I think it's a global world. And what we have learned is that water issues, climate change impacts, and how they relate to water resources is very localized or very regional. Yet idea exchanges is really powerful across global networks. And so as I am right here today, we are about a month away from completing our first Water Innovation Lab Global. We have I think we have about 12 participants from Latin America. We have African, Middle Eastern, South Asian, European, Canadian, and American. So we've got this wonderful 90 participants meeting online and collaborating together, and yet working on their innovation projects closer to home. And the idea exchange and seeing where there is knowledge transfer between jurisdictions that maybe the context, the culture is different, but that at the end of the day, the water challenge can be quite similar. And so this collaboration is really powerful, and I hope it's something that, you know, there's a lot going on at your event. One of the things that is really important for the young people that we've seen, the thousands of young people that have come into our Water Innovation Lab programs, is the skill training and the capacity building. And in some ways, that is becoming even a larger draw for young people than actually building things. It doesn't mean that they don't want to, but every person in the ecosystem doesn't necessarily want to be a water entrepreneur. Some of them do, but I don't think that they're the only part of the puzzle. And so the demand for skill training is really, really strong, and we keep getting better and better at the modules that we offer, from problem solving and creativity to communication, to network building, how to leverage networks. We're often so surprised by how deep you can go there about, and this connects to collaboration. We do a lot on obviously the content piece, but it's these 21st century skills that are so essential to solving water challenges in today's climate. So the last thing that I want to share before I hand it over to my colleague Chris is, when looking at the water ecosystem and building water innovation lab programs for young leaders, the capacity building and what is going to be given in that capacity building is essential. Being able to speak to young people so that they are part of solving problems. We see this time and again. Young people want to be part of positive change. They want to innovate, and they really want to be part of that space. And we need to elevate them to be able to do that. Being able to see things in the field and really have time. We facilitate such deep dialogues, so you really need to allow for time for the right kind of conversations to emerge, and that the right kind of questions are being asked, so that one can see what the problems are and one can have time to reflect on a variety of angles of what could be innovated around. Multidisciplinary teams, global or at least multidisciplinary networks. And the last thing is that mentorship is so important. Mentorship during a program and mentorship after a program. This is sort of the direction that we're going, is that once the training ends, obviously that's not the end. The support that young people need to be able to sort of follow through is so essential. So I'm going to now bring over my friend Chris, and he's going to talk to you about sort of another angle of how we piece all this together, and we hope is useful for your learning.
All right, thanks Karen. I appreciate the intro. My name is Christopher McLeod. I'm the creative director for Waterlution, and I'm in charge of sort of the arts-based research side of all the projects that we're doing. And you know, it's an important part of what we integrate into you know, all the water innovation labs as part of a way to sort of break away from people's disciplines. The arts is a fantastic way to bring people together in a sense that you know, they have an opportunity to try to see things maybe a little differently than they've been trained to see them, the way their discipline has taught them to see them. You can use arts in all its different sort of modes and methods and processes to sort of break people out of that. And you know, we've had really great success. You know, we've been running a series of projects called the Great Art for Great Lakes here in Ontario, and we've got I think it's about 15 new public art commissions that have come out of it. So these are pieces that ultimately are built by the community. And so what we do with those projects is we actually put a call out for artists, local artists, because we want to work with people in specific communities. And we put a call out to the artists and we say, you know, how are you connected to the water, and how do you feel you can work with your community to engage them around their water systems, their water bodies, and both the sort of the positive aspects of, you know, how we are you know, emotionally and spiritually connected to it, but then also the more fundamental aspects of, you know, how do we maintain our water bodies, what do we need to do to take care of them. So we've actually commissioned about 15 artists in Ontario to work on these projects, and essentially what we charge them with is you know, really using their skills and their abilities to really creatively pull their community together around the different water issues that they're dealing with, and these can be anything from, you know, real sort of technical issues that are happening in their local water bodies, you know, all the way to, you know, how we are sort of emotionally and spiritually connected to our water. Because, you know, from an arts perspective, when you're talking about engagement, you know, if people aren't interested, if people don't care, then it makes it's much harder to bring in that mass of people, that real strong community, to have a united voice, you know, to do the work that we're trying to do around water in terms of protecting it and conserving it and making sure for future generations that it's in good shape. So the arts is really an avenue that has been incredibly powerful for us in bringing people together to do that. So I get asked a lot by non-artists, you know, because, you know, I've been lucky enough to work with a lot of different, you know, people in engineering and sciences, and they're like, the arts, how is this helping anybody? And it's, you know, I always chuckle a little bit because I can give you some really fantastic examples of the work we've done. And so one that pops into mind, so in 2017 we worked with an artist group called Lab Space here in Toronto, Ontario, and we partnered with the Ontario Science Centre, which is one of the largest science centres in the country, and we had about 2,000 participants come to the Science Centre. And so what the artists did is through a series of very approachable and easily learned origami workshops, they actually had participants through origami make 3 different species at risk that are here in Lake Ontario. And so the participants would come together, and the best thing about the arts is, like, it draws people in from all different avenues, because it's not necessarily like a science thing, it's not an engineering thing, it's like, it's fun, it's approachable, and it works. But once you have them, you know, it's easy to hold on to them. So they come together, and with this particular project, so these 2,000 people, they made all these different species out of origami, and then the artists worked with the Science Centre, and they took those origami pieces and they actually, to scale, installed it on the ceiling of one of the main rooms in the Ontario Science Centre. And so what was very cool about this piece was when you entered the room, it was as if you were looking at the lake from underneath. So you're actually looking up. So it was just a very powerful piece when it all came together. And not only did the participants have ownership in that piece, they then were able to take all the knowledge that they learned, not just on how to make origami, but all the knowledge that they learned about these species at risk, and share it with their broader groups, if you will. Because a big part of what we do with the artists is we partner them with resource guests as well. So, you know, we understand that everyone has their strong points. So it's these, again, it's about collaboration, right? We bring people together. So that was a really successful piece that it's still installed, it's permanently installed at the Science Centre, and we're very proud of it. Another great project that we did, which is totally different than this one, we had 2 artists in Norfolk, Haldimand County, again here in Ontario, and this project worked in several stages. And so the first stage, we partnered with a group called Clean Up Norfolk, and through that group, we did a series of shoreline cleanups, and our focus was on plastic. And so this time we were on Lake Erie. And so we had 5 or 6 different groups come out and do shoreline cleanups and collect all this plastic. And it was put together as everyone understood that they were participating in an art project, but they were really there to help do a shoreline cleanup, with the understanding that somehow these plastic pieces that were collected were going to be integrated into an art piece. And so that was stage 1. And so stage 2, we invited all those people that came to the shoreline cleanups to go to the artist studio. Suzanne had a studio, and so they all came to the studio, and we took all those plastic pieces, and they'd all been washed and sanitized. And Suzanne essentially took those and designed out a fairly large-scale sturgeon. One of the nice things about this particular project and having the shoreline cleanups is that it really connected the participants to the work that the utilities were doing. And it drew attention to the fact that really, because the utilities were doing you know, such a wonderful job at handling, you know, our tap water and our wastewater, that them sort of being there and doing those shoreline cleanups and realizing that we have a plastic problem that is being worked on, and so they were really able to connect to that. So it was that was a great part of the project. And then the next step was really sort of bringing all those plastic pieces into what was going to be the final sculpture. And so the final sculpture was a visual representation of a sturgeon. And the sturgeon is a species that in that area you know, it was exceptionally highly regarded, but also had not been looked after for many decades. So it was another part of the story that we were able to sort of tell and share, not only through the resource guests that came to talk about the sturgeon and the history of the sturgeon, but in the construction of this physical representation of a sturgeon using these plastic bits of garbage that the participants had collected during the shoreline cleanup. So it was a wonderful sort of full circle. And in the end, that piece was installed in a local museum, is permanently installed in that local museum, has become a part of the education programs that the museum runs. And they're exceptionally happy to have it. It's a beautiful piece, and again, it just so points to all the different layers and all the different people that are involved in water in our communities. When you're looking at the sturgeon, where it's installed at the museum, another third example of a project that I'll give you is a song, and the song is called "Song for the Water." And so when you actually go see the sturgeon, as you approach it, there's a sensor that starts playing this song. And the fantastic part about it is that song was actually created as part of one of Waterlution's creative projects. And so this time we actually commissioned 2 musicians. And so the musicians, they worked again with, we had an indigenous resource guest come in this time to work with the 2 musicians, who then went into several classrooms in the local schools, and through those workshops in the classrooms, they actually created the song. So when you look at the song, when you see the video for the song, you'll actually see that the credits go to 250 students, plus the artists and the indigenous consultants. With the song, it's a wonderful legacy project. The musicians, Logan Stotts and Rob Lamont, were fantastic working with the community. So yeah, so I'm always excited to be working with the different artists, working with Karen here at Waterlution, because, you know, we've, over the last several years through these projects, you know, it's been really solidified that arts-based learning is crucial and sort of foundational to that sort of multidisciplinary approach, right? It's a great method. It's a great process for just sort of breaking people away, you know, and opening up insight and really working towards, you know, this idea of innovation, right? Like, how do we get there? Like, what does that mean? And there's just so many paths that we can take, and there's so many different avenues that we can go down. And so arts is a great way to pull people together to do that, and again, to break out of your bubble. So I always love working with scientists. I love working with engineers of all different types, because in the end, you know, there's always something profound that comes out of it. So here's a bit of a montage of some visuals from the different projects and some different video footage that we have from it. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it, and I hope that this is a great experience for you. And yeah, thanks very much.
She wasn't mine. She never was. Falling all alone, she can't beat me up. It's too late, and I'm still sorry. She's gotta carry that scar. She's gotta bury that scar. So she goes up there all the time till
coming together, and it's been really an amazing experience, at least on my part. I've learned a lot just from hanging out with Susie, and always Rob's a huge mentor of mine. So it's just great to be here and involved in something so great.
It all comes from the land somehow, and it all needs water.
As a young man, you know, I spent a lot of time on the reserve, and a lot of my childhood memories just kind of revolved around the water.
The ultimate respect you can have for somebody is to listen to what they have to say, what they can contribute in a day. So it all relates to everyone's voice being heard.
sorry for the trouble. Think I've been blind. Express the good, running out of time. The weight's on my shoulders.
So here we are together. So I hope that we've offered some insights into what we do. I hope that you see connections to what you are doing over these 2 days. And yeah, maybe there's going to be ways for us to collaborate together and bring all of our ideas together, because I think the central message is we got to work together. Water impacts in a climate change era. They're here. They're not even coming. They're here. And if young people can see themselves in the solution and be part of creating that future, I really think that that is where energy, investment, resources, mentorship, like that's where we need to put our effort, because they're really, really pivotal to solving these large problems. So thank you for having us.